20% of people are afraid to mention who they plan to vote for. Now, in cancel culture, the current state of cancel culture, we'll talk about more about the history of cancel culture, but the current state of cancel culture is if you support Trump, you need to be afraid for losing your job, being doxxed.
Or if you're a racism or open racist.
Right.
Yeah.
Any of those things can come out
Yes.
if you say that you support Trump.
Yes.
If you're on the left, there's very little fear of expressing who you're going to vote for. It's safe to say you're going to vote for Biden. Now, if 20% of people are afraid to admit who they're going to vote for, I'm thinking most of them are going to be Trump supporters because they're the ones who are getting canceled. If they, I think the one stat said 50% of the left believe that if you support Trump, you should be fired, whereas like 32% of the right think you should be fired for supporting Biden. So the fear falls mainly to the right side. Okay, the left seems to have comfort in the fact that they're not getting canceled for supporting Biden. Welcome to Civil Disagreement. My name's Kevin Beers. I'm the host of the show, and to my right is Michael Green, our co-host. Today, we're going to talk about cancel culture. But before we do that, we want to talk about the reactions we had to our last podcast, which was on the election and Black Lives Matters. And the thing is, the reaction that came was through Black Lives Matter. So I'm going to let Mike take it from here and explain what kind of reaction he was seeing for the most part.
Oh, man, it was it was kind of bad. Basically, people that I talked to were having a hard time believing that basically Kevin could be that naive saying what he was saying during the show. I believe that the reason that the show was basically representing the fact why we started in the first place, because we're having a conversation so people can understand, where each person is coming from, or just other views outside of what they understand about politics, culture, everything else. And most of the reactions that I got from people, words like, man, how can he be that naive? Or, duh, how does he not know that? Or, he one guy told me that he thought Kevin was full of BS, that he's just trying to play games or play me, trying to make it look a certain way. And I can honestly tell you, since I met Kevin, he honestly is asking questions because he just does not know and would like to know. He just does not believe, he just does not read a view from somebody, even if he respects them as a journalist or whatever. He just doesn't read data and just goes, oh, okay, yeah, that must be how black people are because the data shows that. He's not doing that. What he's doing is he's reading data or some kind of statistic or graph, and he's like, well, what do you think about this data? And he's actually listening to me or whoever he's talking to at the time to see if our point of view about that data brings in any kind of, relevancy where he might have not thought about something, or he might have not thought about it in that way or from that perspective. And that's what these conversations are about. It's not about you. It's this show is not about just promoting what we want to promote. We want people to comment and have a conversation. We don't want you to argue. We just want you to present your point of view in there, and not without trying to demonize somebody. Like if you believe that, I'm wrong, that's fine, but you don't have to put a statistic up there that says, yeah, black people are more likely to have children, without,
Out of wedlock.
Out of wedlock. Thank you, Kevin. I have the statistic that black families are more likely to have children out of wedlock. If you believe that, that's fine. We're not telling you you're wrong. But what we want to do is have a conversation to see if you have considered taking that statistic and asking a black person, is this true? And do you think it's true? And if not, why? You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're reading a statistic about a culture or a group of people you have nothing in common with and don't know nothing about, why would you want to believe the most negative statistic or stereotype of them and you know nothing about those people? That's why we're trying to have those conversations.
Yeah, and what I'll add to that is, well, first of all, for those of you that don't know, I'm an engineer, and statistics are something I work with like every single day. So I'm always working with statistics. I know a lot about statistics because of that. But I also know that statistics require context. Just recently in a conversation where I was reading an article and I disagreed with the outcome because they were comparing cities and which cities had the highest murder rates.
Yes.
And the article was on point for the most part, but I disagreed with some of the outcomes just because of context. Now, what I'm talking about is a city of 100,000 people as compared to a city of 4 million people. To me, there's the population density, which is the context around this, is so different that the cultural aspects or the culture that grows out of that density is very, very different. So the murder rates, the statistic they were using or the measurement to level the playing field was per capita. Now, I'm one that will tell you that per capita is a really good measurement in many cases, provided the context is relevant to it. You know, like the context is kind of the same in both places. I grew up, okay, doesn't matter where I grew up. Let's go to that city of 100,000 because I grew up in a town of 1,500. That's no comparison at all. So if we look at a city of 100,000 compared to a city of 4 million, well, how big is the city for one?
Yes.
Like the city of Richmond, I don't know what they say the population is. It's very, very high, but no building goes over like 7 stories or whatever. Right? You know, it's all the buildings are much smaller, so people do not live on top of each other the way they do like in New York City.
Yes.
Where you might be in a building that a building of apartments or something that's
10 to 12 stories tall, yes.
Or even higher. So
yeah.
you're living in a lot closer spaces. So the mindset is going to change, which means the murder rate may change. Doesn't say it does, but it may. So I was just saying that, hey, I disagree with the outcome because I don't believe per capita outside of context is really valid in this case. And I used the example of the state of Montana and the state of Rhode Island. So Montana is one of the largest states in the nation. Rhode Island is the smallest state of in the entire nation, but they have exactly the same population. The land mass of Montana is 100 times bigger than Rhode Island. So is the murder rate per capita going to actually mean anything? If we look at per capita, probably not. Because in Montana, you can go a couple of weeks without ever seeing a person. I mean, it's possible.
Yes,
because
it's very possible.
Because where you live. So that provided the context. So when this show got started because Michael and I were having these conversations where I would ask questions and he would answer them, and it was always like with unexpected. Because I'm looking at all kinds of statistics and whatnot, and he's contradicting everything I'm saying. Now, that doesn't mean we agree on everything or I change my mind on everything, but he gave me more context to work with. And so the statistics are taking on different meanings for me. Now, the reactions to our last show, really people were slamming me saying, basically, I'm the white guy gaming the black guy and, that sort of thing. That's not what's going on. I honestly had questions, and I can tell you that the people I associate with who are white, we all kind of had the same questions because we really don't know the answers. When someone says to me, well, how can he think that? Well, I can think that because I didn't live the life you lived. That's why. So I do think that, but I'm willing to ask the questions. Michael's willing to answer them, and again, my mind hasn't changed on everything. We're going to talk about cancel culture. he and I were getting a little bit loud on each other a little while ago, talking about it. But it's because we see those from different viewpoints. And he makes valid points. I'm not saying they're not valid. I'm not sure I agree with them because I haven't had time to process everything yet. But honestly, having these conversations, that's what we're trying to encourage everybody who might watch this show to do. Have the conversation with somebody you don't know anything about their background. If you're black and you're talking to somebody white, don't assume they know everything that you know, or assume that they should know everything that you know. If you're white, talking to someone who's black, don't assume that they know what you know or that they should know what you know. You're living two different lives. I mean, I talk to white people who don't know what I'm talking, who can't relate. Because I grew up in a little tiny town up in the mountains in Pennsylvania. There's people who lived in a big city, like Philadelphia to me is a big city.
It is.
So people that lived in Philadelphia, they have no idea what my perspective is because they didn't grow up the same way I did. And that's what the conversation's about. So we wanted to address that because the reactions were
off the chain.
Yeah, there we go.
That's the best way to put it, man.
Yeah. So we just wanted to address that. So we want to, again, we encourage you, have the conversation, have it on our YouTube page, on our Facebook page, wherever. Just have the conversation. Have it in your own life. Go. We like it on Facebook because honestly, we want to be part of the conversation.
And again, I want to reiterate, there is no topic that should be so out there that you are scared to chime in and put your comment down. And look, I promise you, I need that same energy from the hardcore racist. Like, I'm sorry, I know people trying to figure out what does he mean when he says that. I'm trying to have a conversation. So if you just don't believe racism doesn't exist, you are free to put that at the bottom of one of our videos. You are free to comment on our YouTube page. Hey, you guys are full of crap. Racism doesn't exist. Everybody's free. If you want to put that up there, go ahead. We're not going to call you a racist and we're not going to demonize you. We're not. Okay? I'm just telling you, we want to see what people are thinking out there. So this whole, and that's why we want to talk about cancel culture. This whole thing where people are just scared to say their opinion because they're scared that all these people are just going to start jumping on. Like, man, that's not what we got here. That is not what we got here. I can promise you, me and Kevin are not going to go into a post and personally attack you. It's not going to happen. And I don't think you should be scared of that because we don't promote that. And if we see anybody doing that on a post, we definitely going to take your comment down. I promise you we will.
I was going to say the only way you can put a comment out there that we're not going to keep is by attacking somebody.
Yeah, so that's coming down. So if you want to get out there and start talking about libtard this and what skinhead this and you're a racist, it's coming down.
Are you referring to me when you say skinhead?
No.
Okay.
No, but it's coming down. We want to have productive conversations, and there is no such thing as an ignorant question. If you don't know, you don't know. You know what I'm saying? Now, we're going to understand, like, again, the memes and the trolls, you start getting offensive, we're taking your stuff down. But if you honestly, I'm making an example here. If you're honestly if you're a white person and you honestly want to know, do black people really raise their children to be on welfare? And I know that sounds like a ridiculous question, but people think that. They really do. You can actually put that question in a post. You can ask that question, and we're gonna and you can start a conversation. Anybody that jumps into that feed and goes, "What is wrong with you, you racist son of a whatever?" Da da da. How can you ask that kind of a question? We're taking your comment down. We just are. You know what I'm saying? Having a productive conversation and telling somebody how you feel about a certain political issue or even a topic that we're talking about does not take you personally attacking or demeaning somebody to have it. It doesn't.
Right.
So,
as a matter of fact, when we go back to this Montana, Rhode Island thing, I just put a comment out there saying I disagree with this article, and here's why. And the first comment that comes back is they're using per capita, which levels the playing field. Reading is fundamental. Like you're insulting me, my intelligence. And what you don't know about me is I work with statistics every single day. So I got a little knowledge behind me on this one. Just because and I'm okay if you don't think I'm right. Tell me why I'm not right. And that was the other thing about this guy, because it was a exchange back and forth quite a bit.
Yes. Oh, it got personal. I
Yeah.
read the feed. It got personal.
He never once told me why I was wrong, other than per capita is a valid way to look at it.
Yes. I love those kind of people. Like, you're just wrong because I say you're wrong. Okay, well, tell me how you feel. Like, let's talk about some events, some statistics, some numbers. Let's talk about something. Like, I can sit here all day long and not provide proof for my opinion, but still give you something to think about in my point of view.
Mm-hmm.
I can do that, and I can do it without attacking you.
Yeah, I had a case. I told you about this one too, where this woman attacked me, continuously insulting me about not having knowledge in one area or whatever. Apparently you don't read any scientific journal or scientific information or whatever, but she just had this opinion. I said, well, cite the sources. You're telling me these sources are out there. Honestly, if I tell you to cite sources, that means I couldn't find them. I actually did go looking. So I said, well, cite the sources that you're using. Well, she apparently didn't have any sources, and it was pretty obvious because she threw 6 sources at me, and all 6 sources contradicted everything she said. So, when you read the articles themselves, they sort of sound like they support it, but as you read through and they gather up all their conclusions and at the end basically say, but we can't prove anything by this.
Yes.
It contradicts. So
most of those articles on social issues that a lot of people dredge up with a headline that says blah blah blah. More black females are on welfare than any other demographic in the United States of America. But you want to know what? That's not proof. That's just an article written from a certain point of view because that's what they were trying to prove. And then a lot of those articles, they're trying to prove it. And as you read the article, you realize they can't prove that point. There's no empirical data that proves the point of the headline of that article, but they try to. And then in their summary, you'll read where they'll say, we could not prove this point and blah, blah, blah. And thus so go live your best life. But they have all this data in the article that shows like the demographic, why they're on welfare, who they talk to, all that stuff. But nothing points to the headline that black women on welfare more than any other demographic. The reason that's a headline is because they're trying to sell the article. They're trying to get eyes to look at it. It's a conversation piece. It's a social topic. That's what they want to talk about.
And one of the things that we see is that the stats are showing something like 70% of people will comment on an article that they have never read. Because honestly, you may not know this, but if you go on the Facebook and you comment, they also know whether or not you read it, or if you at least pulled the article up. They can't tell that you actually read it, but they can tell that you pulled the article up and actually may have looked at it.
Yes.
But 70% of people don't even click on the article, and they make comments.
They'll make the comments believing that the actual object of the article, even though they haven't read the article. And then what I love is they'll share it on their page, like, yeah, see, this is what we're talking about. And I'll click on it and I'll read the article. I'm like, wow, they didn't even read this article. Mm-hmm. This article does not support that whole headline.
I actually did an experiment because I read that stat about 70% of people not actually reading the article. So I put a post out there with this headline that was, it basically was going to support some opinions that were out there. But if you actually read, when you click on it and go to the post itself, it says, oh, this isn't actually about that. This if you actually read this article, comment with this, name your favorite color or something like that.
What?
And there's all these comments supporting the headline I put up there, and they never actually went to the article because the article just told, it's like, okay, so you, none of you read this. I can't trust anything you ever say from now on.
I got got on an article like that once. I was triggered by it. I was in my feelings. And the guy comes back later and says, "Everybody that commented on this article, you're wrong. This is what it actually says." And it was basically, you click on it and the words pop up. There is no article that supports this statement. This statement is not a statement of fact. It was just posted to see if anybody was going to agree with it.
Exactly. And yeah, I love experimenting on social media because I read things and it's like, no, let's test this out. And honestly, um, it's true. It's actually true. People they love their ignorance. Well, they always say ignorance is bliss.
Bliss, yes.
Yep.
So let's get into this cancel culture.
Okay.
Yes.
So this actually helps quite a bit. Go for it.
Oh, so cancel culture. So me and my man K Dog here, we had a discussion about cancel culture. Kevin has some really good points about cancel culture and why he feels as though that it was a threat from his point of view. I mean, he'll explain it.
Actually, let me explain.
Yeah,
let
me
me
explain.
Okay.
Yes.
So basically, we were talking about whether or not Trump would win the election, and I said I believe Trump's going to win the election with 12 to 18% of the vote. That's the way I see it. Now, the reason I see it that way, and I was building a case for it, and I printed off a bunch of stats and whatnot, but basically, 20% of people are afraid to mention who they plan to vote for. Now, in cancel culture, the current state of cancel culture, we'll talk about more about the history of cancel culture, but the current state of cancel culture is if you support Trump, you need to be afraid for losing your job, being doxxed.
Or if you're a racism or open racist.
Right.
Yeah.
Any of those things can come out
Yes.
if you say that you support Trump.
Yes.
If you're on the left, there's very little fear of expressing who you're going to vote for. It's safe to say you're going to vote for Biden. Now, if 20% of people are afraid to admit who they're going to vote for, I'm thinking most of them are going to be Trump supporters because they're the ones who are getting canceled. If they, I think the one stat said 50% of the left believe that if you support Trump, you should be fired, whereas like 32% of the right think you should be fired for supporting Biden. So the fear falls mainly to the right side. Okay, the left seems to have comfort in the fact that they're not getting canceled for supporting Biden. So to me, right now, the polls show that Biden and Trump are kind of neck and neck. Well, if they're even, but 20% of people who fear saying who they support, and typically the right is the one who fears the most, that tells me that Trump's going to get a significant number of that 20%. And that's why, and I say 12 to 18% because overall, the left is about 20 to 25% fearful of being canceled, essentially. Whereas when you look at the right side, it's a much higher percentage. So I think that 25% off the 20, that puts me at 15.
Okay.
Just doing math.
Yes.
That's all.
So again, if you was sticking with Kevin through all that, what I came back with was, okay, so there is a whole point of view that Kevin was ignoring when he was talking about cancel culture. He's coming this strictly from the point of view that cancel culture is a left or more liberal, aggressive deal that's going on in this country. My point of view was that had to come from some other place. It's because it's learned behavior. It just didn't come out of nowhere. So I was saying, what is the culture where if you work someplace and it's pro-Trump or pro-Republican and you don't agree with that, or you are a Democrat, where you get fired or you have, stuff held from you or your opportunities are taken away from you because you just agree differently from everybody else. Look at the videos that are surfacing of people that go through these red states, these small towns or rural areas with BLM signs. Look how they get attacked. Okay? And these are people that don't even live in that community. So if you live in that community, are you going to really express the fact that you're not voting for Trump? No, you're not, because you don't want to lose your job. You don't want to be accosted or harassed or anything of that nature. You know, you're still going to go into the poll and vote the way you want to vote, but you're never going to express on social media or any place where anybody that you work with or work for, you know, saying can find out that you're not a Trump supporter or you're not a hardcore, right wing, like Republican, everything is right. You know what I'm saying? There are a lot of women in this country whose husbands or associates are Republicans and vote for Trump. It's okay. But if you talk to some women in this country that are married or have boyfriends or live in a household that is pro-Trump, talk to those women that don't vote for Trump but are in those households where their husband or their boyfriend or their fathers vote for Trump, and it's just a pro-Trump household, but they didn't vote for him. They don't let anybody else know they didn't vote for him. Again, your ballot, your vote is secret. It is what it is, you know. And so I've had personal conversations in my limited interaction with people from the other side, because it's limited. I don't know every single hardcore Republican in the United States of America, you know. So just my limited interaction with some of these women that felt as though that personally they just could not, they just were offended by Trump and the whole grab them by the, since that they can't get with him, and they don't vote for him. But they're not going to tell their husbands or their children. They're not going to go to work around their friends. They're not going to go to the car clubs or whatever they do when they're having these civic activities and be like, oh yeah, I hate Trump and I wouldn't vote for him. But they still feel that way. And they're not going to make it public. They're not going to go on Facebook and voice their opinion because they understand that to do so is that's like death socially for them. So cancel culture, I was trying to tell Kevin, cancel culture as he is seeing it is not wrong, but that's not the origin of it. I mean, literally, this just human beings, even before the United States was, came to be, has a way of just ostracizing people to make sure that look what they did to people in the Middle East. Look what they did to Christians. Look at the Crusades. Look at the conversions when Spain did their thing back in history, like
the Inquisition.
The Inquisition. Thank you. Look. I mean, they have a way. I mean, you want to talk about the real cancel culture? We had government officials burning women, calling them witches because they couldn't get their way. How much cancel culture is that? So it is what it is. So that was just my point of view about the whole where cancel culture is coming from. So if you have a group of people that feel like they don't have any power, they're ostracized for whatever reason, if they go gain power someplace else and start using the same tactic that kept them from doing something else, how was that any different from what you were doing?
Well, I think one of the reasons why cancel culture came to the forefront with a lot of the conversations is that a lot of conservatives are seeing Facebook and YouTube taking their stuff down, or either taking it down or demonetizing
it. Yes.
So, for instance, just what did I say? 6 days ago, there was an event called CancelCon.
Yes.
And it's basically a promotion of a movie called No Safe Spaces, I believe. Mm-hmm. Which is a conservative. It's a movie or a documentary, I guess, where the people in the movie are talking about cancel culture, and they're talking about the way I was talking about it. The left canceling everything on the right. Mm-hmm. Anyway, CancelCon itself, they tried to promote. Now, I don't know if the commercial or the advertisements were for the movie or for CancelCon itself.
Okay.
But Facebook would not allow them on the platform. Mm-hmm. So essentially, Facebook was canceling CancelCon. Is what it came down to. So that's how we actually got on the topic here of, we talked about doing cancel culture to start with, and then that popped up like immediately afterward.
Yes.
That CancelCon got canceled. And then I started searching on CancelCon, trying to find a conservative viewpoint on CancelCon was really hard. And now I can't say this for sure, but every video about saying CancelCon was a load of crap, that was on YouTube without a problem, or it was on Facebook or wherever it was going to be. But to find the conservative view, and the thing is, if you look, what I found interesting is when you look at, I actually watched CancelCon because I was curious about it. I watched it after the fact. I thought it was an excellent show.
Yes.
It really was. But in the chat column, over half of the comments were being made by people who disagreed with CancelCon. It was like they attracted just as many people who didn't like the idea as those who did.
Yes.
And the thing
That's
was,
good marketing.
well, there was no marketing. That was the problem. But and they're saying, well, there was hardly any there was hardly any people that were there. I get, and one podcaster was saying, well, I have that many people that view every show that I do. Like they didn't do anything special. It's like they weren't allowed to advertise, and it was a one-time event, or I think it was a one-time event. But if they're not allowed to advertise, of course, a lot of people didn't show up. You know, how were they going to? They didn't know about it. I mean, I didn't know about it until after the fact.
Okay. Yeah.
And that's something I would have been interested in hearing more about, because I love learning. I love, and especially when I found out it was going to be the topic that we wanted to talk about today. It's like, I definitely want to watch that. I mean, now the four that we're talking were all conservatives, no doubt about it. I mean, they're actually all four of them. Well, actually, one considers himself a classical liberal, which really means not a leftist, but he believes in freedom, small government. Basically a conservative.
I got you.
But and I think that's what classical liberal is yes, I'm all for change, social equalities, things like that.
Yes. But
government should be out of most things.
Gotcha.
That kind of thing. Pretty much my stand. But it, like I said, it was a good show, but it was like there were more trolls, or 50% of the people there, they were trolling because they kept putting the same word, and I wrote it down because I had never heard of it before. I wish I had it in front of me now. But this word kept coming up on all their posts. It's like, what point are you making here? Are you trying to just not allow people to read comments, or, they were basically trolling. I mean, actual trolling.
I think I am I'm a strong supporter of free speech, obviously. I do not think that anything being considered hate speech to be taken off a platform or anything like that. And the reason I say that is because there should never be anything we understand that there's a certain moral structure to the United States of America. Okay? People don't like to say it's based on Christian Judeo views, but call it what you want to. Okay? There's a certain moral structure to the United States of America. That's why our laws are written a certain way. That's why you go to jail for murder and things of that nature. Okay? That's why incest is supposedly against the law or looked at badly, and things of that nature. Okay? Knowing that, I don't think there should be a such thing as hate speech, and I don't think hate speech should be illegal. I think it should be your honest opinion of whatever you feel, and you should be able to promote that as much as you want to. Okay? This is America. That's what you came here for. Do be you. Be great. What that does is that shows the honesty or the real, the truth of a person. And you, as an American citizen, have the right to either believe, not believe, associate, or disassociate with that person. Period. So Facebook and YouTube trying to just ban this hate speech because it goes against, it speaks horribly about gays or black people. And what? That's not going to stop race. These people are still going to be racist. They're going to be racist someplace else. These people are still going to be homophobic. They're going to be homophobic someplace else. We need that energy. We need that truth. Let them people speak. Let them people speak. Why? Because we want to know exactly who you are, so we can either, one, have the conversation with you, or understand that you're a dangerous person and we need to basically stay away from you. It is what it is. That's the only two options you have, But trying to build this bubble where everything is basically all inclusive, but yet it's not. You can't say we're trying to build a better community of where everybody's safe, yet you don't let the guy in that thinks that white people are the superior race. Why you don't want to let him in? Well, we don't want those kind of people here. Well, is it an inclusive society or not? Is it an inclusive server, software set, social media page, whatever it is it inclusive? Is it inclusive? If you are telling these people they can't bring their page here, and I know most of y'all are like, man, forget them people. Why are you saying that, Mike? Da 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 da. Why would you want a racist to have the same ability to promote his crap that you do? Because it's a free country. It's a free country. You can be racist in the United States of America. You can. What you can't do is you can't do it in such a way that it affects my life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. You can't incite violence. You can be racist all you want to in America. You can't come burn crosses on my front lawn. That's what we're talking about. Okay? So in the privacy of your own home, on your backyard, or on your land, you want to hold a meeting and talk about the furtherment of the white agenda and all the rest of the other stuff, you can do that. You can do that. What you can't do is go out in town and try to intimidate or bully people at your job or just random people in public. That's what we're not in support of. But you should be able to have your Facebook page. You should be able to have your YouTube channel. You should be able to do that and talk about your feelings about social issues the way you want to.
I totally agree with you. I totally agree with that. I don't believe there is such a thing as hate speech. There is hateful speech.
Yeah.
But the thing is, not letting me say it doesn't mean I'm not going to feel it or
try to do something about it later on.
Actually, not allowing me to say it is just going to infuriate me more.
Yeah.
Is what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So
when we talk about cancel culture, I don't think it's being effective. That's what I'm trying to tell you. I don't think cancel culture is being effective. Now somebody doing something just totally outlandish, like the whole Karen videos or what you see where these women went out and accosted American citizens based on the fact you just don't want black people doing certain stuff in your neighborhood. Yeah, you're getting fired. Because if you truly got caught on camera doing that to some random black person you don't know, and they have the right to be in that public space, oh yeah. When your boss sees that and he sees that's the way you feel about black people, you're getting fired. That's not cancel culture. That's just smart.
No. Okay, let's talk about specific instances.
Yeah.
Of cancel culture. Now, cancel culture, the way it was first defined, really had to do a lot more with people of like famous people.
Yes.
Actors, actresses.
Okay.
Like that. So that's the way it was originally defined. So the one that sticks in my mind a lot is Mario Lopez. Okay, Mario Lopez from Saved by the Bell played Slater.
Yes.
So he goes on the show, and somebody somewhere, it was an actor or an actress or a couple, whatever, and they were basically saying, well, their son is 7 years old and wants to wear a dress, wants to be a girl, basically wants to be a girl, and they are in full support of him making that decision. Mm-hmm. So Mario Lopez says, a child is 7. You can't let them make a decision on their gender at the age of 7. Because first of all, everything shows that, well, for instance, my daughter wanted to be a boy.
Yes.
Okay. I didn't knock her down over it or anything like that. I just okay, why do you want to be a boy? Well, it took a while to figure it out.
Yeah.
Boys had cooler toys. That was her reasoning.
Yeah.
That's why she wanted to be a boy. Now, a boy at 7 who wants to be a girl, well, why? Why do you want to be, just the conversation alone? I really doubt he's going to say, I feel like a girl. I really doubt that is going to be the reason.
Well,
now, it might be. And even if it is the reason, it also shows that once you hit puberty and those hormones kick in, yeah, your brain just gets rewired. I mean, you're a guy,
Yeah.
When you hit puberty, every thought in your head is different at that point.
Yes.
So why do if you're, and we just had a famous case of the father didn't want to treat his son as a girl.
Yes.
He wanted to be a girl. The mother was in full support, wanted to actually start hormone therapy, the whole bit.
Yes.
And the courts were going to force this guy to let his son get these hormone shots.
Yes.
And he was totally against it. Well, the boy eventually changes his mind, doesn't want to be a girl anymore.
Yes.
It's like, now, once you turn 18, make your own decision.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm all in favor of that. Make your own decision. But, wanting to be the opposite gender or whatever, that's probably a normal for a lot of kids.
This is the problem that I have with.
Anyway,
this.
I'm sorry. I didn't actually finish my thought.
Oh, yes,
I
yes,
rambled
yes.
on. Mario Lopez. So he says, I don't think you should let a child of 7.
He told
do
his
this."
opinion on a show, and yeah.
His entire career was in jeopardy because the cancel culture went after him. He ended up issuing
An apology.
and a retraction.
Yes.
Which I totally disagree with, but I still get the fact that he has his entire career was on the line.
Okay. Yes. So with Kevin, I'm going to tell you what the same people that might promote the fact that all this social injustice is going on is behind the fact that Mario Lopez should have to apologize to these people. Okay? Let me tell you what happens when you can have your cake and eat it too in that situation. Okay? We are going to emancipate these children, and we're going to give them all these rights to decide what they can and can't do with their own bodies. Or that is what we're doing. Okay? Now, I am not telling you that you can't do that, and I want to demonize those choices that those parents are making. I'm not doing that. What I want to do is bring a certain perspective to light to where you can't have that and then try to dissociate yourself from something else that goes with that. Okay? My example is parents are allowing their kids, okay, because of cancel culture, whatever it is. Oh, my boy can go out there, and if he just feels like he's a homosexual, he's a homosexual. If he feels like he wants to be a girl, he can be a girl. You're giving children, immature children, the power to decide, make permanent decisions with their life on things. Okay? I get that. We're just trying to make our children be in a safe space, feel comfortable, call it what you want to. You cannot start putting rules on it when your kid comes home and says, hey, I'm in love with Mr. Johnny across the street and I want to be with him. What do you mean you're in love with Mr. Johnny? Well, I'm in love with Mr. Johnny and I want to be with him. No, you can't be with Mr. Johnny. Well, you told this child that they could be, if this child was born a girl and she could be a boy. Now she's a boy and wants to be with Mr. Johnny across the street. No, you can't tell. You see what I'm saying? That you have to understand that certain things come when you open doors, certain other things come with that. So I'm trying to figure out why is everybody starting to be outraged that these pedophiles are coming out of the woodwork like roaches when you turn the lights on, like straight up. They are coming out. And people are not putting 2 and 2 together. They're not. I am not trying to justify pedophilia. I'm not trying to tell you it's the right thing to do. What I'm trying to tell you is that if you will never be able to rationalize children being able to make decisions like that and then separate that from pedophilia. Sorry, you're not going to be able to do it. You're going to have a hard time. I promise you, they coming for y'all. They are coming for y'all. It just goes with the territory. Mm-hmm. That is common sense, rational man thinking. And again, I do not condone pedophilia. That's garbage. But if you give these children the right to exist a certain way in this country, then that means they have a right to exist in that world too. That's what you're trying to say. You can't separate the two. I don't see how you're going to separate the two. So, I mean, that's I mean, cancel culture, not cancel culture. I don't know. I don't know how y'all going to deal with that, because me personally, I don't have to deal with that. I don't. You know what I'm saying? I don't. But I don't know how the people that are trying to enforce these new rules and laws in our society, are going to deal with the fact that now, because you opened the door to something, some other people that's kind of like on the same side of the fence as you want to walk through with you.
Well, we actually see the same thing when Kavanaugh was up for the Supreme Court.
Yes.
And that's where, like, the Me Too movement, like, this guy did all these horrible things with women, and there was no proof of that. But,
Yes.
But we got to believe all women. And then sexual misconduct comes out against Biden. It's like, oh, well, we should weigh the information we have on this one. Like, all of a sudden, like, we can't believe her because she's with our guy. I mean, she's against our guy.
But that's human nature in general.
Yes, no, I agree.
Look what happened with Roy Moore.
Okay, you gotta explain that.
The congressman or whatever that supposedly statutory rape, senator or congressman. I can't remember which one he was, but yeah, I think it's Roy Moore. Is it Roy Moore? Yeah, Roy Moore. Is it Roy Moore? I might have it wrong.
It's not ringing a bell for some reason.
Yeah, we'll look it up.
Okay.
I'll look it up. I'll look it up.
Yeah, but see, that's just it. If you're gonna take a stand, but then change your mind because it somehow affects you, okay, then your opinion was never valid to start with. Is the way I look at it. And that's interesting. Actually, when you look at our show, we talked about the coronavirus back on one episode. And then I actually got the coronavirus and I was hospitalized. Actually, I wasn't expected to live, and I did. So then we did a follow-up show to that. Well, did I change my mind based on the fact that I almost died? And it's like, no, I did not change my mind, is the way it turned out. I still believe. Now, I'm not saying it didn't modify some things for me, because, I really did think differently. I thought a little bit differently. But for the most part, my opinions didn't change, because I was basing my opinions on things that backed me up, I guess. When you're just dealing on emotion, oh yeah, if how I felt about the coronavirus before I got it was based on emotion, yeah, coming out of that, man, that would have changed completely, because more or less near-death experience, you might say, even though it wasn't exactly what we refer to with near-death experience. So let me move on to another cancel culture kind of thing.
Yes. Chick-fil-A.
So Chick-fil-A. Now this was a while back, before cancel culture was all the rage. So Chick-fil-A, the owner or the founder of Chick-fil-A is something Kathy. Anyway, he came out and said basically, marriage is between a man and a woman. He supported several different charities, he personally supported several different charities, and they have a charitable foundation under the name of Chick-fil-A who supported these Christian organizations who hold those same beliefs. Now, if I'm the founder of a really big restaurant and or a big chain of restaurants, and I'm supporting, I'm not going to let my charitable entity support something I don't support personally.
Yes, it's America. You can do that.
So basically, but because that goes against the gay and lesbian or the LGBTQ whatever community, it's like, okay, we got to boycott. We got to cancel Chick-fil-A. We got to boycott them.
Yes.
Well, most of them had already had that opinion, so the boycott was pretty ineffective because they weren't going there anyway.
Yes.
And the people who did support them said, you know what, we're going to cancel the cancel, and we're going to buy more Chick-fil-A, and sales went through the roof.
Yes.
So Chick-fil-A actually did better.
Better. Yes, they did.
Now, let's fast forward to just recently. Goya Foods, Latino owned and operated.
Yes.
It belongs to the family. I guess he's the CEO, but he's one of the children, or one of the grandchildren of the founder. And he was invited to the White House. He went.
Yes.
And he said, I had the quote right in front of me, and I don't have it anymore. But he basically said, we are blessed to have Trump as president. I mean, that was basically all he said.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, boycott Goya foods.
Which didn't happen.
Well, no, I can't say that. Because the very next day, well, as soon as the boycott was announced, the next day, something called a boycott got put out there that basically said, if you never bought Goya food before, that's okay. Buy it now. If you want the product or not, donate it to your food pantry. So do something good with it, but buy it. Well, now the sales for Goya did drop some. We do know that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the problem is Goya is a privately owned company. They don't have to report numbers the way public companies do.
Yes.
So I was not able to actually find out how they've made out. But the anecdotal information that we can get, most stores that carry Goya foods, customers are reporting they can't find the Goya foods because the shelves are always empty. So, and we know that Goya is sending the food out there, but no one can ever find it. It seems to always be bought out. Now, again, anecdotal, there's no study, there's no actual numbers on that. We don't really know, but that's what's being reported. Now, the other thing I wanted to talk about with Goya donated 2 million pounds of food for COVID for people who were out of work, couldn't afford food, stuff like that.
Yes.
And they gave the equivalent of this is how many meals that actually provided. They also provided 20,000 masks.
Okay.
So like they do all this, but they've been doing charity work far before COVID. I mean,
Yes.
this is a company that does real charity work. They have initiatives within their company to donate food constantly. It almost brings me to tears sometimes. I think about how much good work they do. So if you're going to cancel a company that does that much good, where is your brain, I guess? I don't know. Maybe that's not the right word.
The issue is that cancel culture is not working on political leanings. It's just not. Okay? This whole thing was born out of people doing insane stuff in America, and like I said, Karens or the cops or whatever, or politicians or whatever, just doing stuff that they're just not supposed to be doing. It's not supposed to be something that's supposed to be okay behavior. You being canceled because you're going to vote for Trump, that's not effective. You being canceled because you went to the White House, not effective. You being canceled because you're just a hardcore Republican and you believe and just everything Republican and whatever. That's not going to happen. It's just not. None of that stuff ever worked or did any good. I promise you it didn't. Now, getting somebody fired because they called the cops on somebody falsely because they just didn't want a black person at their swimming pool in a condominium complex, yeah, you're getting fired. When that goes viral, you're getting fired. Because you're on video just being excuse my English, you're just being an ass. And yes, you're going to get fired when your boss sees how you treat people just because they're of a different race or ethnicity or whatever than you. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Yes, you're going to get fired. And that's not even cancel culture. That's just being a human being. I'm sorry.
Right.
Okay?
No, cancel culture is when someone is actually going after you for an opinion.
Yeah. That's just garbage.
Yeah.
It just is.
And the thing is, we all have opinions.
Yeah.
And we don't agree with each other. I mean, when we talked about Kamala Harris, you and I are.
Oh yeah, we definitely disagree on Kamala Harris.
We totally disagree on that. But he's not going after my family. He's not going after my job. He's not going after.
Oh my God, Kevin, you're a stone cold racist. Oh, you don't believe women you don't believe you can have women in power. Oh my God, you're. I mean, honestly, there are people that are like that, but that's not Kevin. He just, we have to agree to disagree. He just feels like politically she's just not good for the country, and that's okay.
Well, it's not just not good for the country, but I don't think she was a good choice as far as getting Biden elected.
Okay.
Is my opinion. But still, I don't think she's good for the country.
Yeah, see, it is what it is.
But that's my opinion, and okay, so be it.
But what I'm saying is, Please don't get on Facebook and be like, oh my God, Kevin, you're a freaking racist. Or you're, what's the word when you don't like women or you don't think women
A
should be
misogynist.
a misogynist? Like, no, that's not it, man. It's not it. Like, we got to stop with the whole trying to tear people down. Because
First of all, okay, I'm going back to the stats here. Women make better managers. This is actually from psychology. Women make better managers than men.
I wouldn't know that. Because I can tell you right now, somebody used that stat before online in a group, and they tried to, tie it to managing a housewife thing, and they got burned down.
That's not why.
They dragged that dude.
No, it has.
So I'm not going to touch that.
Okay. No, I mean, there's data in some psychology circles that show that women tend to be better managers.
Okay.
It also shows that the more diverse a company board is, race, age, sex, like all those things.
Yes.
The more diverse it is, the more profitable it will tend to be.
Yes.
I mean, so we know that diversity is a good thing. Now, if a company is full of white men and they're doing well, like one of the big things that, what's her name, Elizabeth Warren was after, was like, well, if you make this much money as a company, then we're going to force you to have this number of women on the board. It's like, why? If they're making that much money, they don't need women on the board. Now, they may even do better with women on the board. I'm not saying that, because actually everything shows that they probably will. Mm-hmm. But you can't force them to make that decision.
Well, that goes back to the whole, what are you free to do in this country?
Right.
If you just like, there are some people that religiously, I'm not going to call any religious groups or anything like that. I'm just going to say religiously, there are some people, okay, that just believe females should just not be in authority. Okay? Mm-hmm. They just believe that. They can. It is legal for them to believe that. It is legal for them to preach that in their mosque, church, whatever you want to call it. Okay? It is legal for them to do that. Okay? What is not legal for them to do is come to a job in a public space and deny a woman a promotion based on that belief. Mm-hmm. That's what we're trying to get to. You see what I'm saying? That's what we're worried about. That's the conversations that we're trying to have. Like, again, we're not trying to tell you can't believe what you want to believe, but you can't take that out into the public space and be like, okay, I'm going to stop all you people because I just disagree with all of y'all publicly. Like, I'm just going to stop y'all. I'm going to affect your ability to either provide for your family or I'm going to affect your ability to have the same type of opportunities that somebody I agree with has.
See, that one of the reasons why you don't want to prevent like racists from speaking is because, racism, and I agree that's a lot of garbage. Okay, but if we deem all racist speech as hate speech, and you can't do that, what's to stop them from saying, well, you and I are both Christian?
Yes.
What's to stop saying, what's to stop that government from saying, you know what, Christian speech, this one man, one woman thing, oh no, that's illegal. Can't do that.
Yeah.
Or
Ooh.
You can't.
I know a bunch of y'all feeling Kevin on that one.
Or even, what you said about pedophilia being garbage. What's to say that the government doesn't say, you know what, you can't be saying that.
Let me tell you where this is going. This was an actual thing that happened to me a couple weeks ago. I was doing some work with my media company, and a situation happened, and where we needed a light. The young woman that was there said, "Oh, I have a light," and I said, "Ooh, thank you, Jesus." And the young lady said, "No, thank me." Real quick. Like, ain't no Jesus in this. It's my light. Like, that's how she felt. Okay? I'm not going to say what her nationality is. I'm not going to say where she come from or anything. I'm just trying to, that's exactly how it was done. Okay? So there was another person in the room that jumped on that and was like, yeah, Jesus didn't have anything to do with that. Right? The whole mood in the room changed because now I am the odd man out. I am the dude looking stupid because I'm a Christian and I just said the term, thank you, Jesus, and offended the whole room. So, in saying that, it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? I still finished the job. We still got the project done and everything like that. And again, I would not even take back that moment. I'm not trying to demonize the two people that I'm talking about. I'm just saying it's that simple. So can you imagine if one day you go to work and that sentiment is that's in the authority where you work at, and they go, hey, guess what? Religious anything that has to do with Christianity, anything is all illegal. You can't speak it, you can't think it, you can't say it, you can't print it, you can't do none of it. It's all hate speech.
Once you start limiting speech,
yes,
or deeming because hate speech is not illegal, by the way. The only speech you cannot have is something that incites violence,
yes,
or danger to another person. Or,
yes,
like the whole yelling fire in a crowded movie theater kind of
yes.
thing. So you can't do those kinds of things, and those things make sense though because they can bring actual harm.
Yes.
But hate speech, and actually depending on where you go, on a lot of colleges, microaggressions.
Yes.
That's another thing. Actually, if you're someone who commits these microaggressions, you can get canceled now on college campuses.
Yes,
and
they are doing a lot. They are doing the most right now with this.
The examples that you see of the microaggressions now, again, anecdotal at best, I guess, is like asking somebody, well, where do you come from? Like if I meet somebody who's got an accent that is just foreign to where I am, I'm like, oh, where are you from originally? Now, that doesn't assume that I'm that's considered a microaggression of racism.
Yes.
It's like, no, I'm actually curious about where they're from because I either I love the accent, I might hate the accent. Doesn't matter.
Yes.
I'm just curious. You don't come from here, obviously, because you have
that accent. So, now, in defense of what Kevin is saying, is because you can be a born and raised American and still have an accent that's not from technically America. I get what people are saying.
Exactly.
Okay, you could be a second or third generation Chinese or Indian person, somebody from India, okay, and still have the accent from being raised in a house where people are speaking the initial dialect of where your family is from. Okay, I get that. Okay, but most of the time, when you meet people for the first time in this country, they're going to ask you where you're from because your accent is so heavy. Okay?
Right. And it honestly, I've never met anybody who asked that question to be racist. It's like, it's a curiosity, like, people, we live in Virginia now. I come from Pennsylvania, so I'm a northerner.
Yes.
When we first moved here, they're like, the question comes up, oh, you a Yankee? But I can't say with a southern drawl. But you're a Yankee, and like, yeah, I am. I come from Pennsylvania.
I got hit with that when I first came to Virginia.
And we.
Right? So where are you?
Where are you from?
Yeah, I'm not going to do it, but yeah.
Okay. but again, this whole cancel culture idea that because I don't like what you think or what you say, I'm going to do everything in my power to ruin your life. I mean, that's really what cancel culture is. It's more.
No, that's basically somebody that is an extremist and don't have nothing else better to do. I promise you, that's not what cancel culture was born out of.
No, I'm not saying it was born out of that, but that's what it's become.
Yes, it's been hijacked. I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah. I mean, we have people in the Senate or the House, I don't know which one, where they got doxxed, and all of a sudden they got protesters outside their home.
Yeah.
Putting their and actually with things that were going on, putting their families in danger, just because they're in a place of government where they do affect change, definitely.
Yeah.
But you don't go after their family. Well, first of all, you don't go after them physically anyway. You know,
It's. I'm not gonna lie. When those people showed up, I forgot what congressman it was. He was eating dinner. He was eating lunch with his family, and all them protesters showed up to make him feel uncomfortable at a restaurant.
oh, you're talking about the restaurant now.
Yeah.
Okay. That was.
I thought that was funny because if you really thought you were safe from public ridicule or you could just say what you wanted and just dismiss a group of people from a conversation, that just shows you how, that just shows you the tenacity the freedom and tenacity of Americans. That just show you how free this country is. That a group of protesters can go to a restaurant and harass a political figure and his family while they eat lunch. Only in this country can you do that. I'm sorry. Like if that was any place else.
yeah. They'd be dead.
You see what I'm saying? Like if that was any place else, you're gone, man. Yeah, it just is what it is.
And for me, it's like we have the freedom to do those kinds of things, but we should really take that freedom and respond. You know, be responsible with our freedom.
Yes.
At the same time, I don't agree with the harassment that occurred.
Yeah.
I definitely don't agree with that. But the same thing is, I would never go to a restaurant and harass somebody that I don't agree with. You know, we just there's a what's his name, Tippy, they call him Tippy Canoe. I forget what his name was now. Anyway, I think his name was Tipper, and I think he was in Congress at the same time as Reagan. Anyway,
okay.
So Reagan and Reagan's a Republican, a very conservative Republican, and whoever was the head of the House at the time, staunch Democrat, and they would argue and argue and argue, and when the argument was done, they go to lunch together, have a good time.
Yeah, pretty much.
And, you know, that's what me and Mike do. We don't agree on things, but we have breakfast together today. Yep. We're gonna have lunch together.
Yeah, shortly. That's what I'm about to. We're about to wrap up right now so we can go eat because I'm hungry.
Now today we did agree pretty much today.
Yes, we did.
But on those when we talked about Kamala Harris, we still had a good time. You know, it's really all about having the conversation. I have a guy that I have dinner with like once a month. We talk about politics. We are never going to agree. We're never going to see eye to eye on anything ever. But it's a great conversation because I actually see his viewpoints on things. He sees mine. We still don't agree, but we have that conversation.
Yeah.
I know more about the I'm going to say the opposing side. That's not the right term, but like I said, I think in our last show was we need each other. This guy over here, I got to put my hand up so people can see I'm pointing to you. This guy over here, he shows me things I've never seen before because of the way I grew up. And because of that, I understand a lot more. It gives me context for my statistics, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
But basically, I become a better person because I know him. And I'm willing to have the conversation. Now, if he wasn't willing to have the conversation with me, no, I don't become a better person. I wanted to bring that up. I don't know how much time. I think we've been talking way too long.
Yeah.
But the one thing I wanted to say was one of the comments I hear most when my naivete. Naivete.
Yes.
Thank you. So when when that shows up in my post, I have so many people that say to me, "It's not my job to educate you." Well, no, it's not. But if you want me to understand what you're saying, so that I'm not so naive in my response, it might help if you actually explain a little bit to me so that I do understand where you're coming from.
My opinion, when you make comments like that, you are now becoming part of the problem, not the solution.
Which comment?
It's not my job to educate you.
Okay. Yeah, exactly. Because I honestly, I do not ever post anything to offend you. If I post something, it's either my opinion and how I see it, and you can have a conversation with me about it, or it's in response to something you said that I disagree with, and I just want to show my point of view.
Yeah.
And let's have a conversation. You may sway me to your side. I may sway you to my side. Well, actually, I wouldn't. Most people, I'm not going to sway to my side anyway because they refuse to open their mind to what I'm saying anyway. Typically it ends in a personal attack of some sort on me, because I don't do that. I've told Mike several times. I've written posts where after I write it, I read it again. I'm like, I can't post this because this is a personal attack, and I do not personally attack people. So you have to be conscious of that sort of thing. Now I'm sure I say things to offend people.
Yes.
Based on the reactions I get, but it's never done on purpose. It really is done because I don't know something, and if you want to have a conversation with me, educate me, help me understand it. That's where I come from.
Coolness.
Anyway, we are gonna wrap up there. We tend to get into these conversations that we just talk forever. So I really don't want to do that today. But again, so we're on Facebook as Civil Disagreement TV. We're on YouTube, Civil Disagreement TV. And we have a website, civildisagreement.net, not .com. That takes you somewhere where there is nobody. Somebody else owns that. We couldn't get it. So we're .net, civildisagreement.net. But the Civil Disagreement TV on YouTube and Facebook.
Yes.
Full episodes are out there. We'd love to, and again, leave comments. We want you to join in the conversation. Our next podcast, we're going to be talking, we won't announce what we're talking about, but we're having a guest on the show, and we'll see where that goes. We love having guests. We love having guests too. Yeah.
Yes.
Are you threatening him? Again, just having the conversation. Yes. So leave your comments. Tell us what you think. Tell me I'm naive. I'm okay. I'm okay with that. Just don't personally attack me. That's the only thing I'm at. Don't personally attack Mike either. We are not into that. Your comment will come down with a personal attack, whether it be on us or anybody else that might be commenting.
Yes.
We want to have the civil discussion. If it leads to a civil disagreement, all the better. It's good ratings for the show, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, cool.
So anyway, we are out.
Peace.
I'm just here chilling with my man K-Dog.